Hello, and welcome to the True Crime Lounge. My name is Breezy, and here we talk all types of crimes committed. My specialty is serial killers and the psychology behind why. Occasionally, I will talk about the victimology of each case. Um, However, if you would like to support me, I do have a Patreon that you can go and check out. I also have a merch shop that you can go support as well. You don't have to, but it's an option. Help a girl out. If you would like to have an update as to my channel and podcast, you can also find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Now, with that being said, let's dive into today's episode on the True Crime Lounge. Our first case I divided up into two episodes when I discussed the Menendez brothers. The second case I discussed the Gonzalez sisters. The last case that we happen to discuss is the Bondurant brothers. Today we are going to continue on with our Killer Siblings mini-series with the Otto brothers. In the 1980s, Otto Shankar operated a large collection of prostitution dens in the city of Chennai, South India. Um, Shankar Shankar recruited his closest friends, including his younger brother Mohan and his brother-in-law Eldin, to build a criminal network in the city. The group regularly kidnapped young women in the streets and forced them into sexual slavery. Their activities caught the attention of authorities, and after 9 young girls went missing over a 6-month span in 1988. In one case, Otto Mohan and their accomplices got into a confrontation with 3 men after they attempted to remove one of the girls from the brothers' LB Road Lodge. In response, Shankar ordered the 3 men to be buried and murdered and buried. The families of the victims contacted the police. And a task force was organized to help find the perpetrators. The police tracked down one of Shankar's accomplishments, Art, who refused to locate the members of the criminal organization and produce testimony against him and his brother Mohan. During the trial, it was received that Shankar was responsible for the deaths of 6 people over a 2-year period. And so, inside his house, the police were able to find a collection of photographs of him posing with a crooked cop. The evidence sparked an internal investigation, and soon officers involved were punished. Otto Shankar also later made a daring escape from prison, but he was recaptured and found guilty of the murders. On April 27, 1955, he was hanged in the Salem Central Prison. In August 1990, Otto Mohan escaped the Shanghai Central Prison, but he was arrested in Pune on June 25, 1992, and he was convicted of 6 murders and given a sentence of life in prison, which he is currently serving. But before his death, he made headlines about sexual abuse of the victims for state politicians. Shankar is a serial killer, rapist, and robber whose number of victims range from 6 to 9. His dates of his murders range from 1988 to 1989, and his methodology is unclear. On April 27, 1995, he was executed at the Salem Central Prison, and his motive to kill? Sex and money. Anyway, during a period of 6 months in 1988, Otto Shankar abducted and murdered 9 girls in Shanghai. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that part because I'm going to butcher it up. Anyway, though initially blamed on the influence on cinema for his crimes. A month before his execution, he confessed to committing the murders for some politicians who had raped and abducted teenage girls. Um, him and his accomplices, they were hanged in 1995 with other accomplices, including his brother. It was sentenced to life in prison. No inquiries were ordered to the links of the politician. Of course, it wasn't, right? So, Otto Shankar. He was born January 21st, 1954, and if he is the if this is the nickname for the Indian serial killer Shankar. And his gang were found guilty of 6 murders committed over 2 years. They were tried for the murders of Lalita, Soliday, Sampath, Mohan, Gorgara, and Ravi. I do apologize if I butcher these names up. I am terrible with names. So just a heads up. Sorry guys, I'm struggling to make rent, so I'm trying to get some rental assistance. But anyway, in the late 1988, over a period of Anyway, the bodies of these victims were either burnt or buried inside their residential homes. In late 1988, a period of approximately 6 months, 9 teenage girls went missing. In the beginning, investigators believed that the girls had been sold to prostitution by families unable to afford wedding dowries, but this consistent denials by their kin forced them to seek other explanations. So, late in December, a schoolgirl named something Shami. Um, I apologize again. I'm terrible with names. Claimed that the auto rickshaw driver had attempted to abduct her from in front of a wine shop. Working undercover at a local wine shop in the back rooms, detectives learned a rumor that an auto driver called Shankar was behind the crimes, deposing the bodies and cremating them and pouring the remains into the Bay of Bengal. The following morning, police had picked up the suspect overnight, who became known as Otto Shankar. So, his trial was completed by the Shangal Laputu sessions, and he was convicted to death with 2 of his associates, Eldin and Shivaji, on May 31st, 1991. And during the trial, he blamed films for making the devil of him. But before his execution, he did reveal reports of a more sinister force. According to his account, he had kidnapped the girls for the powerful state politicians, subsequently deposing them after his patrons had raped them, and he was hung in the Salem Central Prison. In 2002, his 5 accomplices were sentenced to 6 months of rigorous imprisonment. After having been found guilty by a magistrate, the accomplices are his brother Mohan, Selva, whose alias was we're not even gonna attempt, and the jail wonders Kanan, Belin, and Rahim Khan. They were found guilty of criminal conspiracy and the resistance of obstruction by a person in an unlawful apprehension. Shankar's younger brother Otto Mohan was found guilty of the 6 murders, and he was awarded 3 life sentences. He had earlier escaped from Shanghai Central Prison, August 1990, and it was rearrested June 25th, 1992. So, K. Vijay Kumar, the Tamil Nadu Additional Director General of Police, claimed that cinema was solely responsible for making Shankar a criminal. He mentioned during his seminar in Crime and Media in Kerala. The trial became known across some of the nations since the invoked the American free speech. So, Otto Mohan's younger brother Otto Shankar, who was hung more than a decade, I lost my place, sorry guys. Ago after being convicted of 6 murders in Shanghai in 1987. He was also found guilty of murders and awarded life imprisonment, and under each court, a sessions was convicted on him on Friday. However, he split the sentence of the 3 life sentences and ruled that Mohan would undergo 3 life sentences of consecutively, and that is after the completion of the other. So, in a 140-page order, the judge also convicted his associates, all for 3 murders, and undergo imprisonment for life. And in his case, the life sentences were run concurrently. So, the trial of the duo had been conducted separately, and the case was split from the escape. In the meantime, the trial of Otto Shankar and his 2 associates, Eldin and his 2 associates, had been completed in the Sessions Court and was sentenced to death. 5 other accused in the case were awarded life imprisonment. One of the arrests was turned to one of the accused was turned in improver, and Shankar was hung to death. The prosecution arraigned 134 witnesses, which included 9 magistrates and live inspectors of the police. The charge sheet ran up to 1,000 pages, covering the 6 months, 6 major sections of the Indian Penal Code. This rounded up and was tried for the murders of Lalita Sali Sanpath. Yeah. And the victims were either burnt after being killed and were buried inside a residential home. Immediately, the delivery of the order, a composed Mohan was sentenced to a judge and the jail administration for him to be intended to appeal against the verdict. Savraj had requested that he be kept in the Cuddalore Central Prison. To his request, the judge said that if they filed a petition, he would consider them. Alright, that's it for today's episode. It's hard to believe we are almost done, but we have one more episode where we will talk about the Cook brothers after this, and let's pray I can be able to stay in my apartment, guys.